Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and I have another night of doing hobby stuff. It's going to be actually a packed week with live streams, now I kind of think about it. Anyway, I also have my buddy Jack here with me.
That's me. Hey,
It
what's
is
up?
indeed. And Jack just got back this last weekend from LVO.
Yes, that's correct, sir. I had a
Sweet.
blast. Oh, you should have came, man. A lot of people were asking for you.
I don't know why Las Vegas is it just doesn't appeal to me. I just have no desire to go whatsoever.
Oh yeah, it was different because there's so much to do besides the event. Like I've only been to two, so I've been to Nova last year with you,
Yeah.
and LVO this year, and there's just so much to do in Vegas that it was kind of hard to get everybody together after the tournament, like after hours. But it was
Right.
still fun. Of course, I've been to Vegas probably. This might have been my sixth time.
Oh,
Been to a
wow.
bunch of I've been to a bunch of UFC fights down there. So
Yeah, makes sense.
and
Interesting.
so I'm like I've seen all the glitz and glamour, and I'm and so let's go to the strip club. I'm good. I'm tired of. I don't want to see depression and sadness.
Show me
And so
something new, I'll throw $1 at it. Otherwise, go away.
yeah, and so yeah, but it had a blast, and yeah, and so we can talk about LVO, my experience. First, I want to thank Jason Carey, who are two local players, part of the Victoria's Secret Gaming Club, which I'm part of, and I went with them, and they were fantastic.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Cool, cool. You all didn't hate each other by the end of it? You were like, oh, I'm so sick of that Jack guy.
Uh, they might have been sick of me. I wasn't sick of them.
Oh, okay.
And if they were sick of me, they kept it to themselves, which I
Good.
appreciate anyway.
Good acting. Okay. Right on. That's awesome. So tell me, what, first of all, like, so you kind of just sent like random texts throughout the weekend. We never really knew what you were doing. What events did you partake in?
Oh, I just did the championship,
Oh, okay. So just the one.
the GT. Yes, I did that. And like I wanted to go to the reveal, but we bought tickets to the Excalibur kind of jousting night thing.
Yeah,
And
like
so,
medieval times or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Which that was fun, but it was different than I thought it'd be. I thought you'd be able to get like a big turkey leg and some meat, but they had like they gave you chicken and
what?
yeah, they
Was
got
it
you
like a
chicken.
whole chicken?
Yeah, a whole well, it's a game hen, I guess, but you eat it with your hand. But it was a very good performance. I have to say that.
Okay.
What you working on, bro?
This is a dude, a basic bro from the game Infinity.
Oh, gotcha.
So, I had a demo this last weekend. I had a great time, and so I'm just kind of putting around with it.
Okay. If I know you, you've probably you've probably bought a lot of Infinity stuff.
Me? Well, kind of. So basically, what happened was, uh, I ordered like a very modest and understandable starter set, and then someone reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I heard you're getting into this game. I have this if you want it." And it's like
Of
Doug's
course,
crackhead prices,
of course you want
you know.
it.
So I'm a sucker for a good deal.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me about this game. I've never played it.
Infinity.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. It's a skirmish game set in I call it a depressingly real sci-fi future as opposed to the fantasy style of 40K, where it's
Okay.
like corporatocracy and all this kinds of stuff. Cyberpunk kind of comes up a
Oh,
lot.
cool.
And what's kind of cool about it is instead of it going like I go, you go, where like I activate a model, you activate a model, and that's how most skirmish games go,
Mhm.
is there's an active and a reactive player. And so I'll use a demonstration on the screen here so people can see what I'm talking about. These are two different units, and the first guy activates. He gets his action. He can move. He can shoot whatever he wants to do. But the other guy gets a chance to react to it, so he can like take pot shots at a. He has less ability to hit them, but that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of like a tactical hide and cover.
Oh, cool.
It's like if you're going to play Call of Duty, the board game kind of thing.
Excellent. I'll have to get a game in with you.
Yeah, it's there is a steep learning curve, but they are coming out with a yeah, like I couldn't give you a demo, but um they are coming out kind of like um don't want to say like different ways to play like GW does, but they're coming out with a simplified version to make it a little bit more accessible.
Excellent. Okay.
So
Well,
when that drops, I'll definitely be doing that.
Okay. So I will go over you kind of like my trip. And
Okay.
just,
Please talk away.
So we left Wednesday, which here's a tip. Wednesday's too early. The extra day, like I was Vegased out like by Friday night, and so if I would go next time, I would go. So the tournament starts Friday. I would land Thursday night. I would try to get that in, unless I want to go to the previews and stuff.
Right.
I'd try to land Thursday morning, and because the check-in was crazy. There was a ton of people, and it was also nice because you're surrounded by like-minded individuals. So people who are into the hobby. They had it's not just Games Workshop stuff. They have X-Wing, Infinity, and the vendors and things like that. So if you wanted to buy stuff, they had stuff there too.
Mm-hmm.
So Wednesday night was kind of just landing, get excited for Vegas. We kind of met up with some friends from Victoria, Darren and Veronica.
Mm-hmm.
They're from Vancouver, BC, and we met up with them and just hung out. And then the next day was you were allowed to register at I think 5 o'clock, and the register line was like, I suggest kind of maybe start lining up at 4:30 unless you want to be there all night.
Yeah.
It was a long line to register. I wish they would do some sort of a pre-register thing, so you kind of just show ID and give the or something like that, or maybe they can mail you the wristband.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Something like that. But it was cool. People were kind of getting in practice games, and then they did the preview, which I wasn't there for. But what did you think? Did you already go over the preview?
A little bit. I've touched on it. So the big thing for AOS was the Lumineth elves, which honestly they don't really appeal to me. I know they do for a lot of people, and I'm super happy for those folks. It just don't grip me.
That's shocking. As an ex-high elf player, wasn't that your first army?
It was.
Throwing them in the trash.
And one of the things that was mentioned by, oh my gosh, I think it was mentioned on a gaming podcast that has very little to do with AOS, but they're like, I'm so used to like the crazy sci-fi stuff, I've gotten accustomed to it that now when I see an old world thing, I'm like, eh. I'm like, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, like where are the eels?
And the big question is, what the big controversy? Not the big controversy, but what did you think of Techless?
I really like Techless, and I really like the beast he comes with. This looks awesome. I have to see a 360 to understand the pose a bit more. Like there was a brief thing in the video, but I'm not set on like him flying around with his cape, because it's just like at a certain point, man, like we got to be able to transport these models to an event if you want us to be at events. And that thing, it just looks so unwieldy.
It's weird. It's like, is that his mount, or is he just a buddy hanging out? Because it doesn't look like he's riding them. It's like,
I know
they could have been models. Maybe like was it Keratos? Oh, is that the guy's name?
Oh, Catacross, yeah.
There's a bunch of people on one model that you got to fight through. Maybe
I know. Like looks like they're all waiting for the bus to come.
The word like dislike is like it means like dislike just means you don't like it.
Yep.
And I don't say whatever. I don't dislike. There's nothing there. I don't like it. I don't hate it. It's just not for me. And so I don't like have any negative thoughts about it. I don't think it's ugly or anything. It's just like, the army doesn't appeal to me, but I'm glad it appeals to somebody. Like Bone Reapers is probably something I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Even though I bought those from you, but it's just like, I can talk to you about Bone Reapers now.
Yeah, exactly.
That goes into the tournament play. But so that was Thursday, and then Friday, of course, tournament day. I actually got a lot of sleep, which is rare for me, because the night before GT is kind of like Christmas for me, where I keep waking up every like hour or two and excited. And so, we go down there, and one of the best parts of going to an event like this is meeting people who are into the content you put out.
Oh, for sure.
And that was the coolest thing, just meeting people. And so I couldn't go. There's so many names, but just a couple of them. Briggs, Paul, and Amanda. We did karaoke on Friday night.
Cool.
So that's after. And yeah, they were awesome. Briggs actually made it to top 8 with Stormcast,
Whoop, whoop.
which I was super excited for.
What?
And it's like it's one of those things where it's kind of humbling because I think 4 Stormcast players came up to me and say that I inspired their list, which I'm sorry, but Briggs was one of them, and he took it to the next level where I'm like, I like his list better than my list. Obviously, he did much better than I did, but just meeting other people and realizing like, oh, people watch your stuff, and I'm like, oh, don't take me as as my opinion as like something you should base your stuff off of. I'm just
Exactly.
having fun, but it was really fun.
I found a goofy thing and I turned it to 11.
Yeah. So my first game was against Beast of Chaos, which great guy Jesse. He's from California,
Yeah.
and Beast of Chaos is actually kind of hard for me because they have so many bodies and they're so fast because they're just deceptively fast. And so I had a good first turn, and he had a good second turn, and his turn was okay, but then he double turned me, and I actually set myself up to. If I did get double turned, it wouldn't be that devastating. And then it was one of those things like we're out. It was still head to head, and I needed to get the double turn back.
Yeah.
And I rolled, and he just kept priority after that. And I needed one of those rolls to go my way, and it would have been my game. So super close game, but I lost. Next, I went against Korn. A guy named Alec. He's a newer player, and Korn isn't that fast.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where when my army, everything goes right, it can be unfun. And you want to be like, I'm sorry, dude. I killed 3 bloodthirsters, my turn 1, and then I just kind of cleaned up after that. Yeah, the triple bloodthirster and the Gore Battalion army.
Yeah.
Next, I went up a guy named Hero, a Las Vegas local, and he was playing KO, but we only had the new old KO rules. So no old Zeech and old KO for this tournament.
Right.
And it was just my army is better at shooting and it's more mobile. Like if he could fly high with a new rule, it'd have been a different story. But it was another one of those things where I just shot him off the board.
Now you can start flying high with some things, right? I'm just thinking out loud. I don't.
In the old rules or the new rules?
Oh, the new rules because they have fly high. But I was just trying to think. I think you can like almost null deploy some things with boots. I don't know. It's an interesting concept. Sorry, go on. I interrupted you.
Oh no, not a problem. Like kind of starting a unit in the Celestial Realm type thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Gotcha. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look in that. So then there was that night we did karaoke and stuff. And also want to point out that I think we missed it. Painted Right. Yes, the Seraphon tome. We haven't talked about that, about the release. I'm so excited.
Yes,
for that.
me too. Yeah, I wanted to get the high elves out of the way, but I'm very excited for Seraphon, more so than.
And I think it's going to be. I honestly think that we're going to get the pre-order first week, like next week, like May or the following weekend. I'm going to check my email, see if GW sent me anything yet. I think it's going to be one of those things where it's because they said soon, and I could see them just slipping in that Seraphon book one of the first 2 weeks of February.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping for. Anyway, and that Train Priest was great. I love when they like repurpose something. Like I believe the kind of floating vortex thing is part of the Astrolith Bearers standard. If I might be mistaken though. But
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Excited for the new rules. I'm excited for them to clean up some of the old rules. Like remember that tournament that you went to last where the Pterodon guy was the Pterodons were just doing 20-something mortal wounds and you couldn't do anything.
Yeah, he almost tabled my orc army turn 1.
Yeah, it was like he got to land with it like just outside of 3 and moved after that, and that just doesn't exist in the game anymore.
Right.
So we'll clear up some of those things that you're not looking for anymore because the game, it's old 2015 rules. You know?
Yep.
Okay, so back to the tournament. Friday night karaoke, had a blast. Drank a lot, but what else is new when I go to? I need an intervention. But
was there another bucket of tequila like we talked about the last time? I know.
Doug helped me out though. Doug texted me, he was like, "Drink some Pedialyte, make sure you drink plenty of liquids, get some rest.
Yep.
And I was like, thanks, Doug.
Well,
But,
because the few times where you always get those texts from your friends where it's just like, I'm never drinking again. And I think you've done that to me maybe twice.
oh man.
I was like, don't be that guy at the event who's just like, looks like he's going to whore all over the table.
Yeah, I wasn't that guy. I was actually, I did really well.
Good.
So I'm 2-1, still excited because you can still make it. Like some 4-1 people made it to the next round. I'm very excited. So I'm playing Seraphon. And it was I think my second time playing against Crocnado, and very, very good player. And he deployed really well. And so the train was such that he could hide a lot of stuff where I couldn't shoot it. And if you ignore a Crocnado, you're going to lose because that thing he just pumps out a lot of damage.
I've heard that.
And a pretty decent sized radius. So he had the of course the tornado he's on the Bell 1 Vortex, and he was next to Arcane Terrain. He had rolled the Constellation that give you +1 to cast.
Okay.
And he was next to the Astrolith, so he's getting +3 to cast, and it was like one of those, planets had to align for that. And then, but it was, I can't remember what mission was, but it was the thing where I had all the objectives for the first 2 turns. So I had max points. I had 18 points. And then it came to, but my army's decimated at this point.
Right.
Like I have 2 guys on each objective. And I need to I need to not get double turned and I win. But if he gets double turned, then I can't score max points, and he can just eventually. He eventually took me out, but it was a close game. But the double turn is part of the game.
Yep.
And then the final game, so I'm 2-2. I'm just like, all right, hopefully I go 3-2, have a winning record. The final game was against this. He ended up being cool. I can tell you that.
That's a great way to start.
But it started out kind of his name was Tom. He's from Ohio.
Okay.
He's playing Petrifex OBR with Nagash, which I like. That is a tough matchup for my shootcast. Just because Nagash is like on a 2-up, re-rolling 1 save if he uses command ability, and it's like we're in the realm of Hish, so he cast a -1 to hit spell on him. I had to just try to ignore him and kill everything else. But as I'm deploying, I'm playing Stormcast, so I'm putting 1 thing on the ground, and I can put stuff in the Celestial Realm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm deploying my stuff, and I have a bunch of stuff on the table, and I say I'm going to put the rest of the stuff in the realm. And he's like, "No, you can't do that." I was like, "What do you mean you can't do that?" He said, "No, you they made it a FAQ that you have to put 1 then 1, 1 then 1."
Oh, that's not.
And I'm just like, where does they said that? He said, "Yeah, they FAQ'd it." So I'm looking through it. I'm trying to find it, and I'm just like, whatever, dude. And so there's stuff I would have had in the sky I just put on the board.
Oh. And
I'm just like, I'm looking for it. And I ended up asking a TO later on, and they were like, "No, that's not a thing." And he was a newer player. I think he'd only been playing a little bit. He said the TO said something funny to me. He was like new players will say wrong stuff with confidence, and that's what he did. He said it confidently, like I Jedi mind tricked me. I was like, oh, because people on the internet will tell you if you're doing something wrong, and I was like, I've done that, and nobody's said I couldn't do that.
He's over there making his own reality.
Yeah, man, it's one of those things. So that messed me up at the start, and the other thing that kind of made it I know how my army works. I've played it a lot. And he was kind of giving me eye rolls when I was doing stuff my army does. Like when I come down in the movement phase and then I shot, he was like, no, that counts as a movement. And I was like, no, it's not a movement. It's a setup. He's like, no, it's a movement. I'm like, no, it's a setup. So I get my extra 3 shots each. And then he's like, okay, and roll his eyes like he's like, I'm messing up. And I was just kind of, but like I said before, 95% of the interactions are okay.
Yep.
Are great, and 5% can all right, man, this is kind of iffy. But his wife showed up. I started talking to her. He was cool. It was all. I was going to lose that match anyway. I come to figure. When I was like, ooh, that was a really good army. But I think it was. Yeah.
Do you feel like you would have had a chance if there wasn't a disagreement into the deployment phase?
Yeah, I definitely would have had a better shot because I would have put more. Because I had to put a bunch of stuff on the board.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't have.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, but man, it's one of those things. Like I feel bad complaining about Bone Reapers because I read all the Zeech drama in Australia.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, it wasn't that bad. I had Zeech, like OBR didn't win it. And so, but yeah, OBR is really good, man. That Petrifex, and the thing about the Mortek Guard, which are their battle line, is they're all on 25 mil bases.
It's a
So
pain.
trying to get on the objectives, it's like I made some moves to try to, okay, I'm going to try to grab this objective, and I can't with Stormcast. My bases are too big. Even my skinks were on there, and it just didn't work out. So ended up going 2-3, which, hey, I, I had fun the whole time.
There you go.
So that's all. And just meeting people who like the channel and stuff like that was awesome.
That's awesome. Let me pause you right there. Joseph is asking what I'm working on. It's the U.S. Ariadna Army box from Infinity. Sorry. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's see. We got thoughts. How do you feeling about your shoot cast? You kind of done with it?
Yeah. That was the retirement tournament.
Okay.
Played it for about a year and a half, and had fun with it. But it also had not fun with it because it can be an unfun army to play against. And I'm looking for not just more interactions.
I think that's a fair thing.
But I'm also I'm moving to another shooting army, so it's not that big of a. So I'm going to Cities of Sigmar, but decent amount.
It's a very different kind of shooting, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Not the.
I'm not shooting in my hero phase anymore.
Well, and it's not the whole just drop down, light them up. I mean, you got to like position and because they don't have anything like that. I'm trying to think.
If you play Living City, you can deploy off board, but then you have to come in. You have to come in on the board. Board edge, I mean.
That's interesting.
And how have you been AOS wise?
Me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if you were reading a question. If you're just asking me. No, I've been good AOS wise. What am I doing AOS wise? I'm really close to finishing my Puscoil Blightlords. So I have 4 left of those. That's pretty much it. This week I'm going to go grab some totes and just kind of reorganize everything. Because I'm at that point where my projects are kind of like burying me. So I'm like, I need to separate these things and kind of not get lost in the plastic.
You're gonna have to get a storage unit.
Oh my! I refuse. I can't. I see people who do that, and I was like, I can't do that. There's reasons to have them, but just for pure miniatures is not one of them. Beyond that, that's pretty much it for me. Since I got over my cold, I've just been really trying to crank out just a ton of videos.
Yeah, you've been catching up on some of the like Bone Reapers and Iron Jaws, and it's great.
Yeah, honestly, I've had this inner debate about like not trying really hard to do books as they come out because I find that I like it more when I can just hop around subjects. But I also know that like, to be practical, I want to do this for a living, and search queries are highest when it's brand new and it's coming out. So it's like, well.
I like the weeks. I love Bones, Bone Splitter Week or whatever.
Oh yeah.
You've also run that army, so I think you've done all the weeks.
I have, but I mean, coming down the pipeline, we got Lumineth, Realm Lords, we got Seraphon, which I'm gonna redo the whole Seraphon week.
Excellent.
I mean, assuming they actually write some stuff for it. If it's like the biggest womp womp of the year, where it's like copy paste, which I doubt.
Have they done that yet? Have you written not verbatim? What's the word verbatim?
Oh, verbatim.
Verbatim. Verbatim copy paste of like when they did the Flesh Eater Court book again. What did they add new?
Oh, they added the Archregent, kind of expanded like their role. No, they haven't. They haven't actually done a copy paste. Not in that sense.
Excellent. Oh, if people want to know, I am painting on the Fleet Master. That's him right there. This is for the narrative Cities of Sigmar army I'm building. So he's along with this guy. I finished him yesterday. This is a Black Dragon. Let's see if you can see that. Hopefully. And yeah, he is great. I magnetize him so I can put a sorceress on there if I want to. And yeah, I like it because they match my Stormcast. I'll have the Seahawk color, which is easy.
That's what makes it work.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I want to congratulate Vince and Tom. They're on 5 years of Warhammer Weekly.
I know, isn't that nuts?
Oh. And yeah, I'm just like Doug. The only reason I'm not listening to it right now because I'll listen to it tomorrow at work.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I've had people like message me like, "Hey, can you do it a different night? Because I want to join the live stream." And it's like, yeah, I could just not live stream, but it's like, no, man, I'm gonna listen to this at work tomorrow. Oh. Gives you something to listen to at work tomorrow. What are you talking about? Asking me not to stream.
And so, have you announced about what's going on in March?
March. Hold up. Let me think.
The next big event.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to Adepticon.
Oh, yeah. We're all going to Adepticon.
Yeah, the whole party.
Rolling Ones and Cranky Old Gamers going as well. We're all going to Adepticon. And it's going to be fun.
There's going to be a ton of debauchery, and then I'm going to go to bed at 9:30. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to do what I do at every event so far. I'm going to drink too much and go to karaoke one of the nights.
Yeah, that's not true. I didn't have a single night at Nova where I was in before midnight, but I do tend to enjoy my beauty rest. So yeah, what do you have any travel plans for that yet, or you just?
You know what? I am last minute Louis. I got my tickets to stuff. I haven't got my plane ticket. We're sharing a hotel room, so I have all that. I just haven't got my plane ticket yet.
Yeah. I did that as well. I got my hotel room for Jess and I. She's coming with me again. If anybody wants to meet and hang out with my wife Jess,
excellent.
and our event stuff. But no, I haven't gotten any flights.
Cool.
Okay. It's been a long time since I have built a metal model.
Did you get into the Zinch stuff, the controversies and whatnot?
Well, I started to, and then I saw the Honest Wargamers post calling Ben Curry what do you call him? I don't know. He said he was full of it, and I was just like, I'm done. And so I just turned off the internet for the rest of the weekend.
Gotcha. Who's Ben Curry?
Ben Curry, he runs what is it? The Grand Alliance forums. He's a Warhammer Hero dude. He does playtesting. What else? I think. Not sure on the playtesting one, but I believe that's him. Just another figure, I guess. But yeah, so, and he came out with some tips of like, here's how you can deal with Zinch, and given the results of CanCon, which Rob was at, it turned out to be not very helpful, those tips. But whether or not that's deserving of personal insults is up to the beholder.
That's sad.
I decided no. And so, yeah. But I don't want to go talk about that too much because I like to focus on the positive. As far as the actual Zinch stuff, I have no doubt that it's like super rad. I'm not sure if it's a hard place as a TO, because here's the thing, like his name's Clint from the podcast Heralds of War. He's the guy who organizes the CanCon AOS event.
Oh, awesome.
And I totally get that weird position of like, I want everyone to be excited about their new book, so I want to let you use it. The fact that it didn't even have an FAQ yet is rough.
I think that'd be a good position to take. You can't use your new book until the FAQ comes out.
And I think most people would think that's fair, especially after this weekend. I have no problem with that. I know some. It wasn't. I'm trying to think of the name of the event that was like you can't bring anything because lists get locked in.
Oh yeah.
There was some event. Maybe I'm making it up. Maybe thought it was back when I was playing War Machine Hordes, but yeah, like there's like almost like a 2 to 3 month lead time. You're just like, oh, that's
Oh,
annoying.
yeah, that is a long lead time, but I would say 3 weeks. Usually, the FAQs come out within 3 weeks,
Yeah,
right?
it's usually 2 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
I mean, but he took a chance, and I respect it. And I mean, I'm somebody that like I'm like, oh, well, we're all laughing and having fun. It doesn't matter. So like, I don't because I don't do the competitive stuff. I'd be like, yeah, sure, no problem. I totally get why you did it. So
Yeah, well, that's one of those things. I like KO did very well at the Joe. He did. I think he got sixth place, maybe fourth, with the old KO. And so
nice.
all I've heard was bad stuff. Like it's like abusive and not fun.
The new KO?
But yeah, no, the new. Sorry, I mean Zitch. He got
Oh,
sixth
okay.
with
You
Zitch.
confused me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just Zinch is just like change host, get a bunch of shooters right up there, and you're just blowing people off the table before
Hmm.
they get to go, which that is not fun at all.
Yeah.
So hopefully it works itself out. The game is fun, and I think it can, survive this. Then we'll get to something where we're complaining about something else
Yep.
soon. I
Yep.
bet all the Bone Reaper players are like, yeah, sweet, yeah, complain about them. We're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Zinch totally
they're
sucks.
awful. Oh no, no, yeah, yeah.
It's funny. Yeah, I created a few spicy memes this week about. So I had this prediction a while ago that I was like, in 6 months, no one's gonna be worrying about Ossiarch Bone Reapers. When that book came out, everyone had their hissy fit. And then this weekend of just like the whole world's on fire because of Zinch. It's just like, it
And you're
didn't
like,
even,
right.
huh?
People aren't complaining about Bone Reapers anymore. See, it's all Zinch. You were
Exactly,
right.
yeah.
You were completely right, my friend.
I believe my personal sensei Qui Gon Jinn from Star Wars was correct when he said, "There's always a bigger fish." So there's that. I mean, no, I was fine. Like I said, I basically just went and played a demo game and hung out with some cool people and got to meet some folks. So it was good. It was a good weekend, for me. I was just following stuff kind of lightly. Um, I decided, since I'm not really doing much in the way of events at Adepticon, I want to really do some narrative event coverage. And I don't know who to reach out to about that. If someone knows in the chat, let me know. Whoever's running a narrative AOS event at Adepticon. But that's the thing, is like there's so much like hype around this, the GTs and the winners and that kind of stuff. But I would love to like get in there and like tell a really cool story about like this is what happened this weekend. Tell the narrative event stuff. So
Yeah, there was a narrative event at LVO. I didn't even know about it until I was walking past and I saw more people playing AOS. And then somebody was like, "Yeah, there's a narrative over here." And I'm like, "Oh, I wish I would have done that."
yeah, actually, it was hosted by Will Costello, who does the Rolling Bats podcast, and
Yep, yep.
I'm
Saw him
sure it
there.
was a fantastic time. I'd actually love to have him on and talk about it.
Yeah, everybody who ran the GT were awesome guys. They did fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And there was a little snafu with the BCP app, but those guys are working hard and they worked through the problem. I felt kind of bad for the 40K guys because they had to wait 2 hours.
Yeah, well, it's so much more data for their
But,
big old event.
and not everything's gonna be perfect. I think they learn from what happened and they'll improve and make sure it doesn't happen again or try their best.
I don't. It's certainly not every event, but I in the last few years of hearing people talk about BCP when it became like a very common thing. Anytime I hear that there's an issue, I think maybe 3 or 4 times at big conventions there's been an issue, but like the team is always like, boom, right there, problem solving in real time. So that's a credit. Stuff will go wrong,
Yeah.
but the fact that they're like on site, ready to go for it is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I just scattered all my painting stuff to the wind. Here we go. So,
I can't see the chat and see anybody saying anything.
oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll take a look here. Sorry if you saw something you want me to mention. Go ahead and ask it again or whatever. Let's see.
Man.
Fly high is a move. I don't think it's a reserve tool. Yeah, I don't think it generally is, but I thought there was some kind of battalion or skyport that let you do it. My book's right here. My fingers are all covered in dried glue, so I'm not going to go tear open the pages of it. David White says, "Hi guys, first time catching a live stream. Thanks for your amazing content. Bullet 2 plus stuff and rolling ones. Thank you, David."
Yay.
Joe says he's going to start building and painting his iron golems.
Oh, those were really fun to paint.
Yeah, I liked mine quite a bit. David says, "I have a lore/gaming question mixed between both of you. I really like the Tzeentch Cult of Transient Form lore, especially, but I can't work out how their rules work in games." Let me see.
Tzeentch. I know very little about new Tzeentch right now, so I'm not sure if I can help you out there.
Do I have my book? Where's my book at? Transient Form. If I'm not mistaken, that's the one where people can't retreat from you.
Ooh.
Which is not bad.
That is very good for like tactical stuff, because a lot of people, they forget that they can retreat.
Yep.
And it's one of those things, if you're not going to want to fight,
get out of there. Yeah, exactly. Get out of there.
If you're just there, and especially if it's like, it's your turn because you're going to retreat. If it's just when it gets to the combat phase, you're toast, leave.
Oh, wait. I'm wrong about that.
Oh. Wrong.
Transient form. I'm sorry about that. Here we go. Here, I'll put it over here so people can actually see. Let's see. Oh, this is the one where as Carrick Acolytes die, roll a die on 2 through 5. He dies normally on a 6. Before removing the model from play, you can add 1 Zangor to an existing Zangor unit in your army. Let's take a look here. So yeah, as your Carrick Acolytes are dying, you're adding Zangors, possibly on a 6.
Is it 1 for 1, like when one model dies on a 6, you get a Zangor? Because that's pretty nice.
It is not 1 for 1. It's so a Carrick Acolyte dies, you roll a die on a 6, you get a Zangor. So, I mean, it is 1 for 1 in that sense, but you still have to roll at 6. So,
okay, and it gets added to its own unit now.
No, it's added to a nearby unit within 9 inches of the slain model. Can be set up wholly within 3 inches of an enemy unit.
Okay, Okay.
The command ability is pick a Carrick Acolyte unit wholly within 12 inches until your next hero phase. Each time a Carrick Acolyte model from the unit slain, add 1 to the die roll for that ability. So you can send in a unit Carrick Acolytes to die purposefully, and now on a 5-up they become Zangor.
Okay.
Command trait, add 2 to the bravery characteristic of cult dudes within 12 inches. And artifact is add 1 to the bearer's wound characteristic. So I'm not going to lie to you, dude. I'm going to be just super straight shooter. This is one you play because you think it's funny and fun. And I encourage the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Things that you're going to want, obviously, Carrick Acolytes. I don't know, maybe minimum size units so you can get in there and just have them die assuredly. And then they have to be really close to Zangor units to work. And I just checked the keywords. You can't do like Zangor Enlightened because that would be baller. But no, to be a basic Zangor, which is not terrible, but yeah, I don't have any like super cool tech for you, but it's a cool one. It's very narrative.
Definitely. And you also have to ask, what are you looking for?
Yeah,
exactly. I think people need to ask that more often. What are they looking for in a game? Do they just want to, like, are they really want to win? Like, Is that your biggest concern, which is fine? Do you want to have an enjoyable game for you and your opponent, or do you just kind of want to have fun? Because those are like, and I think books don't get broken down enough into, well, there are some fun lists in here,
Yeah,
but I might not be able to go win against people who are really playing competitive lists.
totally.
And so that sounds like one of those have casual games, which is also nice to. I think meeting people need to do this more, where they're kind of curating their game. Like, all right, Jim, you bring this list, and I'm going to bring a list that matches it strength wise.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, to make sure everybody has fun, right?
yeah, just to make sure it's even or even an even game, because it can be uneven as well.
Yeah. Um, David asked, my too long didn't read version is that it seems like a lot of bookkeeping for little effect. I don't know if it's a lot of bookkeeping per se, but it's certainly, yeah. I mean, every time somebody dies, you got to roll a die. And so, and it's time, because then if you do roll that 6, you're like, yeah, I rolled the 6, but now you have to measure out a specific Zangor unit within 9 inches and set that dude up. And so, try it out. Proxy some stuff if you got it, but I don't know. It's not. It's a very specific flavor. I'll give you that.
Mhm.
Let's see. Um, Crown Royal from mentioned, we were chatting about like the Zinch and the OBR and that kind of stuff. And I like this. It says, getting back into the hobby after not playing since the late 90s sounds like the same issues GW's always had. It's the same. It's always, I had a coworker coming up to me today and goes, what do you think about all this stuff with like the coronavirus? I'm like, dude, I'm a millennial. I've seen SARS. I've seen swine flu, bird flu. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm numb.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that. I was like, do you know how many people die every year just to the flu?
Yes, exactly.
Just to the regular old influenza. How many people in the United States die from that?
Yep.
And like, they can do this story every day
Yep.
with something.
And when they run out of diseases, they talk about vape pens or something stupid.
Yeah.
So, anyway, my point being that, like, yes, it is all the same. So that was a little detour down old man news territory.
Watch it. Like, this is like the new World War Z thing, and we're like, yeah,
Exactly.
it's fine. Yeah, I'm not a doctor. So
No.
if you feel sick, go get checked out.
Yeah, if you're good sick, if you're coughing a lot, it's probably not good.
Dr. Nico in one setting, it's no big deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
More people die from vending machines falling on them.
That's not blood; it's weakness leaving the body. Like, seems red and viscous. Nah, that's the last thing I need is some news story like YouTuber tells people diseases are a myth by the media. 12 dead.
Oh my goodness.
Let's see here. Lord Master so text in the chat. What up? What up?
Yeah, love your content, man.
Yeah.
Ask him what the next expansion for Total War Warhammer 2 is going to be. If he has any predictions.
Ooh, yeah. You got any predictions? I haven't. I saved his video of going through the Warhammer Underworlds game, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. That's going to be tomorrow.
Oh, have you played it yet?
No, I haven't. Nope. I wanted to see my Warhammer video game hero, Lore Master Sotek, play it first, so I know that it's safe.
I'll get it eventually and try it out. But I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm sure it's fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because they already have so many cards like written, like just literally just designed, based the game around that kind of stuff. I'm curious as to how fast they're gonna roll out all of the warbands.
Do you know what warbands they are using now? Do they have them all?
I do not. I have no idea. I remember when you mentioned the fact that, like, oh, is the game out yet? I remember thinking, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And it just blank slate. I have nothing. If anyone in the chat knows, if you've played the new Underworld game, um, what factions are there?
I'm about to get to my favorite part of painting.
Was that Wash?
Wash, yay!
Oh yeah, Liquid Talent.
Liquid talent. It makes everything look beautiful.
Timothy Alacron says, I felt like I was so awkward when I met Jack. I appreciate the comments of my Iron Jaws army. Did you make somebody feel awkward, Jack?
Hopefully not. You were playing doubles, right?
I had that moment at Nova. Some guy, I noticed someone just kind of like, you kind of look around the room and you just kind of see people staring at you. And sometimes just your eyes meet with a stranger and you're just like, sorry, yeah, I'll keep looking around. But he kept looking at me, and so I walked over and I was like, hey man, what's up? He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so awkward. I just didn't want to come say hi. I was just like, I'm just a person, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like I was like, you should have seen me last night. You would not want to shake my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a blast. Everybody was super cool.
Let's see. Oh, we got some questions here. Can we discuss some of the predictions for new Seraphon Battle Tome?
Okay. Yeah. I think. Oh, I'll start off. I don't know if they mentioned it. I think they might have mentioned it. I'm hoping for Source Warriors to make a big comeback. I'm a little disappointed that the regular ones didn't get new models, or the Knights.
Yeah.
Because they could use update. I hope they get 2 wounds each. I hope that there is 3 distinct, like, generals: Slan, Source General, and Skink, and there are 3 distinct ways to play with the 3 generals. That's what I'm really hoping for, because I want a reason to take Old Blood on Carnosaur. And, I hope they change. I don't think maybe only Slan can summon, but change their summoning, not get rid of it.
It can be oppressive for sure.
Yeah. Skinks, leave them the same because they're amazing. That I like when they run away. I
hate that. That is the least fun rule. I would rather get shot in the dick by your Stormcast for a year than have like this perfectly ornate battle line and all of a sudden everybody's running away.
I love slingshotting off people. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna charge. I'm gonna retreat. I'm on the objective.
I hate it.
Yeah. That being said, I want Croxagores to be great again. Mecca. And and yeah, that's. What do you think, Doug? What are you hoping for?
I agree with the 3 distinct feels of the army. I mean, in a perfect world, they would create lore that kind of like gives you different options as what the origins are without confirming any of them, and then gives you tools to then play with whatever origin you want to play as, kind of thing. So it's like, oh, maybe they're real. Okay, so let's talk about like spawning, and all of a sudden now if they're real, we don't need a Slan to be there, kind of thing, narratively. So I'd like that. What else? I want the summoning. It just doesn't seem like with all the chaos summoning, it's tied intrinsically to like the feel of the army, right? Khorne wants to go in and fight, and Nurgle corrupts things over time, that kind of stuff. Whereas the Seraphon one, it just kind of feels like a mechanic.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like it's Seraphon-y. It doesn't feel like it has a flavor to it. So I want some more stuff there. What else? That's pretty much it.
Loremaster Sotek asked if he could join us, which would be great. He loves Seraphon. I want to hear his thoughts on Seraphon.
Yeah.
Are you able to do that while we're going?
We are. I'm going to have to hop off in about 45 minutes.
That's perfect. Plenty of time. We can do round 2 of Loremaster's challenge.
Oh my gosh.
I hope you've been boning up.
Loremaster Sotek, I am sending you a link on Twitter. Go check that out. And everybody, It's gonna be an on-site sound check, so bear with me if things go a little wonky here.
Not sure if he's going to be ready because he said in a few, but keep going on your surf on.
No, that's pretty much all I got. Although before he stepped away, he did say, in the Underworld game, they have base Stormcast, base Corn Warriors, Sepulchral Guard, and Iron Jaws.
Okay,
so that's it's the initial set plus a few from first wave.
Excellent. We should definitely want to give that a shot.
Yeah, it seems cool. I mean, honestly, if nothing else, kind of the same way I feel about the Mordheim game, where it's just like, oh, so you mean I can try this, get the flavor for it, and not invest any money? Cool.
Yeah.
Or, like $15-20, whatever it is.
Sweet, yeah. I'll give it just like y'all, throw them some money, play it a few times. Like I still play Total War Warhammer. It's they in the latest patch they made the turn thing go a lot faster, and so it's kind of hurt my painting. I used to paint in between turns, and so that actually turned out to be a bad thing. But
sweet. Let's see. I think I missed a question. Oh, Adam here. Tips for getting into Warcry. Working on my 2K Idnith army for AOS and eyeing Carriage and Overlords for skirmish. Tips on how to go about this. So there's a few questions there. For getting into Warcry, I suggest the core book and the Tome of Champions, because if you're going to do Deepkin, their cards are in the back of that book. And then just find people and start playing.
Yeah. Hopefully you have a good local group to play with. Because that's the biggest thing, finding games to play with, like people to play with. Like, somebody joined.
And Blurmaster Sotek. Hey, there you are.
Hey, welcome.
My camera's on this time. I'll be social. I'm just going to be muting myself constantly while I eat. But,
oh, cool! That's a good feature, not a bug.
Yeah, but I was watching it on my phone, and I was like, I should just go upstairs.
No, people love when you eat into the microphone.
Oh yeah, that's why Mini Working Dave just starts with a huge chomp of an apple every battle.
It's then it's an ASMR video at that point.
Yeah. How you been?
I've been good. I just got back from on Wednesdays and Sundays. I have Age of Sigmar League games.
Ooh.
And so I had a 2v2 tonight. Ooh. And it went really well. We won barely, but it was my Night Haunts teamed up with Beasts of Chaos against Caradron Overlords and Flesh Eater Courts.
Excellent. I love barely wins.
Oh yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, I wish we had gotten to finish like all the way to turn 5, but we only made it to turn 3 just due to time. But I felt pretty good that we had it in the bag.
Oh, nice. Are they? Have you played your opponents before? Are they local?
Yeah, one of them was the Flesh Eater Court player was pretty new, and I had played him before. But in turn 2, his Terra guys finally died, and once the Ghoul King on the Terra guys was gone, I wasn't too worried about the rest of his.
Oh yeah.
And the Caradron player we had against the wall, but yeah, it turns out Night Haunts and Beasts of Chaos actually make a pretty horrifying team up because I just parked my army on top of his Herdstone, so all my Night Haunts are getting that -1 rend, but it doesn't affect my guys because I'm ethereal. So the Night Haunts are just like, oh, this is nice. It's like we have rend.
It feels warm and cozy right here. Better stay a whole game.
That's pretty nasty combo.
I love it.
Y'all talking about LVO?
Oh, yes. What are your thoughts on the Seraphon? What are you hoping for? And are you switching? Are you going to finally rip those Lizardmen off their base, put them on
I can actually show it because I have a camera. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Tenenhuan model from Fantasy.
Yes.
But I bought one before they took them off the shelves in the how they do those like characters come out for limited times like Disney.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like they bring them out of the vaults. So I got a Tenenhuan, and I have another one that's actually from when he originally came out. So what I'm doing is I have like a professional painter who I'm friends with down in Peru, and I'm sending him both tenant wands because I'm going to get one of them on a regular base with like his swarms and the classic model with the classic paint job, and then this big old thing of sprues is I'm going to have the other one done in my color scheme on a stegodon to make it an engine of the gods.
Ooh.
But to spice it up, not only is it going to be an Engine of the Gods model with 10-1 on the back, but I'm going to use the Bastillodon Arc of Sotek bits. So he's going to have 2 arcs of Sotek just pouring snakes off the back of the Stegodon.
Because Sotek was a snake god, and then 10-1 was his prophet. Perfect.
Yep, and I even got the Serpent Collar model from Warcry, and I'm going to we're taking all the snakes off of him. So we're getting rid of the guy, and the snakes are going to wrap around 10-1's body instead. So he's going to be throwing snakes at people.
Are you going to get some of the old Warhammer Fantasy Snake Swarm bits, the giant chunky snake?
Yep, I've got the snake swarms, and I've got the swarm bits from the Cold One Rider set. They have a bunch of like serpent swarms.
I remember seeing those.
So the base of the Stegodon is going to have just a bunch of snakes around it, and then there's going to be snakes pouring off the Stegodon, and then 10-1 is going to be surrounded by snakes, and it's going to be awesome. And that's going to be the centerpiece for my Seraphon.
So are you getting all new Seraphon Lizardmen?
Probably not, because I've got like 5,000 or 6,000 points of Seraphon, I think. In fairly good. A lot of them are unpainted, but they're in pretty good condition. So I've got to do some repair work on them, but I probably got like 100 skinks, and a bunch of Saurus and stuff. I might, depending on when the book comes out, I'm definitely going back to maining Seraphon because I've gotten all the Nighthaunt I want. Because for Christmas, I got that new Nighthaunt thing they put out that has like Valentian and then like 45 ghosts in it. I got that, and I'm like
the entire army in a box. So I have like
literally. So it's like because I had that, and then a friend gave me Lady Allender for Christmas, and then I already had a black coach, and I got a Mourngul as well. So it's like I've got. I think the only thing I have left to pick up for my Nighthaunts before I'm done collecting them, at least for a long time, is I need one more unit of the Chain Rasp Horde because you need 40 models to run the battalions.
Yeah,
which sucks because it's $40 for 10 of them. It is like one of the greediest or most money sucking units. Because like you need so many of them for the unit to be really good, but they are really good if there's like 20 or 30 of them. But you need 2 units. So I need to pick up some more of those, and then I need to pick up one more box of the Blade Geist Revenants, the whirling top ghosts. I call them Beyblades.
Do you have enough Grimgas?
Oh yeah, I have so many Grimgrass Reapers. Because I had the starter box, which had a good number of them, and then I got a separate box of them, and then I got the newest box. So I think I have 30, which is way more than I need. Yeah. Because their max unit size is 20, minimum unit size is 5, so I'm totally happy with having that many.
Have you tried playing Legion of Grief yet?
I haven't. I picked up the rules for it because on my YouTube channel and my Discord community, we're actually running a Forbidden Power campaign right now.
Awesome.
We're almost done with the first week, and it's going really well. We've got, I think, 26 active players.
And this is on Tabletop Simulator?
Yeah, Gotcha. And which I might live stream a game later tonight, but it's going well. I've thought about trying Legion of Grief. I think competitively the Legion of Grief is better than the regular Nighthaunts, but I really like the Nighthaunt special rules that you have to sacrifice. Like I like the Lore of Magic a lot more for the Nighthaunts.
Yeah, I agree.
And I like the items better, and then I really like the Wave of Terror rule. The one where if you roll an unmodified 10, you get to attack in the charge phase in addition to the combat phase.
Yeah, Legion of
Grief. I love that rule.
Yeah, Legion of Grief is nice because they have the grave sites, and so you can bring guys back.
Yeah, Legion of Grief is just like, hey, do you want Nighthawks to never die? Then Legion of Grief.
Now, when you run your Nighthawk, do you go like as small units as possible? Because some people try to maximize that.
For me, right now, we're playing at 1,000 points for the league because it's an escalation league.
Okay,
I gotcha.
And we go up to 1,500 next week because it's 3 weeks at every point limit. So this is the last week of 1,000 points, and right now I'm running 20 Chained Rasps, a Guardian of Souls, a Spirit Torment, 10 Bladegeist Revenants, and a Mourngul, and then 3 Spirit Hosts. So I've got a pretty good number of bodies on the field. Nighthawks are so tricky because I find that they tend to do. They're, in my opinion, they're a army where you really want to mix having large units with like big stompy things, because you don't want to have too many models on the table, because then you start blocking yourself and you can't get in attacks and stuff. And I'm not a big fan of swarming over the table with Nighthawks, because if they don't have a character babysitting them, they're terrible.
Oh yeah, I gotcha.
Because the Garden of Souls gives you +1 to wound if you're wholly within 12, and the Spirit Torment lets you reroll failed hit rolls if you're wholly within 12. And then like the Knight of Shroud, like all the characters are just buff wagons, and I find the units are not that great unless they're being babysat, in my opinion. And plus, if you don't have a character babysitting them, you don't get the 6-up feel no pain.
Totally.
So I personally don't run them like all spread out. The only thing I usually send out by itself is the Mourngul, just because it's insane. Like that model is borderline broken. It's so strong.
You should have saw how it was before.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking that. This is the toned down version.
Yeah, the old version was super broken. I didn't play Nighthawks back then, but because I remember it and the Mourngul were like almost as bad as each other, but the Mourngul could heal, so it was worse.
Yep.
But then they toned it down a fair bit, and it is pretty expensive. It's 280 points, so it takes up a full third of my army.
Especially now, lower levels.
Totally. Yeah. I just came into ownership of a full Nighthawk army, so I'm very intrigued. Always looking for information, that kind of stuff.
Oh, dude. Best thing for Nighthawks right now is the December White Dwarf.
Really? I did not expect that. Please tell me more.
There are 2 new battalions, or 3 technically, in the new book, and they are so good and thematic. Like they're really fun to play with while also being competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Dolores Guard, which if you take that, you have to run 2 Dreadblade Harrows and a Knight of Shrouds on Steed. And if you take that, it gives the Knight of Shrouds +1 attack with his melee weapons. And it also lets him use his command ability for free once per turn.
Yep. Which
his command ability is very, very good. Because you just pick a Nighthawk unit and you're like, you get +1 to hit with everything. Which on like a Black Coach or Hex Rates is really strong. And then the other one is the...
it's the cavalry.
I forget what they're called. Yeah, there's another one that's just about Hex Rates, and it's 2 to 4 Hex Rates, which it gives the Hex Rates +1 attack on their profile, which is amazing. And it also makes the Hex Rates have a special rule where if they're within, I think, 3 inches of any Nighthawk hero, if that hero takes damage, then on a 2+, you can transfer it to the Hex Rates instead.
That's amazing.
So you just run the Knight of Shrouds being protected by them, or like use them to body block for like Olander or Reikenor, and they are so good.
Right on.
And then the final one is if you take both of them, they allow you to take the Emerald Host, which is the like feature, and the Emerald. What does the Emerald Host do again? Let's see, I got it right here.
Okay. Didn't you do a video about the Emerald Host, Doug?
Yeah, well, it was a lore video. I didn't really look at the rules too much.
See, the Emerald... Oh, right. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, the Emerald Host is you just pick one enemy character on the table and you give them -1 save for the rest of the game.
You pick it before the game?
So you just pick, like, Archaon or whoever, Gordrak, whatever super buff character they're taking, you're just like, -1 save, which for Nighthawks is really, really solid. Because Nighthawks do struggle with Rend.
Petrifex Elite Nagash. No, you're just normal Nagash.
Yep. I hate the Petrifex Elite.
Oh,
we had a guy that was running that, but the organizer told him he had to run a different one because like nobody was willing to play him.
It's like nobody up here in Washington competitively has been playing them yet over the past couple tournaments, at least that I've seen. I know we have a couple guys getting into it, but this is the first time I was facing them at LVO. And so I've just heard, but it's different when you're rolling against it. You know, I'm like, okay, I have so my Hurricane crossbows, I have a unit of 6, and they get, let's see, each of them gets 9 shots in the shooting phase, and each of them gets 6 shots in the hero phase when I shoot in the hero phase. It took me like 2 turns to kill a unit of 10 Mortec Guard, and they're not re-rolling in the hero phase or the shooting phase because they only re-roll their saves, but they're just going hitting them on 4s, winning on 4s, no rend. And so they have a 3-up save, re-rolling 1s because Nagash has the command ability, and they get 3 back a turn if you have Nagash on the table. And it was it wasn't fun.
So at 1,000 points, we had a guy who was running Archleys Cavalos, 20 Mortec Guard, and 3 Stalkers, and then he took the ugly thing with the Stalkers because not only did they have that 3-up BS save, but he was running a I forget what it's called, but he was running one of those big crocodile things next to him.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever one of them died on a 4+, they immediately came back.
What? Oh my gosh!
So like you had to kill them twice unless they were more than 3 inches away from the gator thing.
It's one of those things you're like, okay, it's the game.
So nobody was willing to play him, especially when he bought Catacross. So he traded out Archleech Cavalos and I think toned down 1 or 2 other things so he could take Catacross instead. I'm like, dude, it's 1,000 points. Calm down.
I always feel bad because I know Doug had people not want to play him before. And I'm like, I'll still play, but it's like, you have to realize what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, we're here to have fun.
And I wouldn't have minded if it was like, hey, this is a really competitive league. This is the express purpose of it. Or it was like, hey, this is a competitive tourney and we're playing, like everyone has to pay money to play and all this other stuff. But it's like, it's a friendly weekly league that the purpose is to bring in new players.
Oh yeah.
You're not helping.
You're not helping.
Yeah.
Like
you didn't read the mission statement.
the only person I saw the Bone Reaper player fight where the 2 of them were like, this was fun, was the freaking ever-chosen player who was running Archaon and Varangard at like 1,000 points. And it's like, you 2 deserve each other.
That's funny. Lovely Archaon.
Because like, especially because, back in fantasy, we had really, really strict rules about how competitive your army could be.
Yep. Yeah, big contest and everything.
Yeah, like the Swedish comp was very, very strict about banning meta lists from tournament. Well, sometimes it would be a ban, but a lot of the time it was like, okay, you can take that disgusting army, but for every like tier that your army is overpowered, your opponent gets like free victory points.
Yep.
Oh, like how? Like I mean, obviously, can you go into more detail? I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, so the way Swedish comp work is we would give you 200 points, and then you would go look at a sheet that was constantly updated to keep up with the meta, and it would tell you, okay, take your army and compare it against this sheet, and it'll tell you to modify your score based on everything in your list, and then your final comp tell us the number. So you'd have 200 points, and you go in and be like, okay, I took a Slon. Okay, well, a Slon is minus 20 points, so you take off 20 points. Okay, are you running your Slon as the BSB, and he's taking the Warbanner to make him leadership 10? Okay, that's a minus another 15 points. So like certain combinations of items and characters would be heavily penalized, and it's like, oh, if you're running this character that buffs this unit, and you know it's going to be a super unit, that's going to take off from your comp. and you keep deducting. And sometimes they would add pluses if you took stuff that like nobody took. So like if you were a Lizardman player and you did not take any wizards, so you had no magic, you got a buff to your comp. So you could trade out having no magic for taking some really nasty melee units, because you'd be sacrificing the magic phase, but it would let you get away with some other nastiness.
Okay.
And so you'd go through it and modify everything, and at the end of you'd have a score, and there was a decimal place that was moved. So like you'd start off with 200 points, which would be a 20 comp army. And then we had tiers. So what we called a fluff list, which is a list that's like for lore or for fun, it's just not competitive. Like it looks cool, but it's probably not going to win any games. Would be a 16 or higher comp.
Okay.
Competitive was 15.9 to 8.9 comp. And then anything below 8.9 was considered like super hardcore. But you could go into the negatives. Like I went to a tournament and I fought a dwarf player who took like nothing but war machines. And then at the center of his army was just 3 giant blocks of dwarves with super heavy armor and a bunch of characters in it that made it virtually unkillable. And he would just murder everybody like turn 2 in the shooting phase. Just because of the sheer volume of attacks. But his comp was like a -6.
Oh, wow.
And what they would do is they would say, okay, for every point in difference between your comp and your opponent's comp, you get an extra 100 victory points at the end of the game. So when I fought the -6 dwarf player, I had a comp of 14.4. He had a comp of -6. So I got a free 2,004. I got like a free 2,000 victory points. So to beat me, he needed to have 500 more victory points than me. So the only way he could get a major victory is he would have to table me, not lose anything, and claim the objectives.
Wonder why Warhammer Fantasy Battles went away.
Hey, I enjoyed the theory crafting of the hardcore shit.
No,
but
well,
those guys,
I totally get it and I respect it because I actually, I was introduced to the idea of comp when I first got into Fantasy Battles. But the problem is that it's so hard to get new people excited about, like, here's this arbitrary list that some people somewhere else made to help balance this game. It's so hard.
Oh, yeah. And granted, I will say I was not a fan of when it was just like you can take whatever comp you want and just your opponent gets victory points. My favorite tournament was they were like, okay, you score comp, but you can only have a 10 or higher score.
Okay.
So take whatever list you want, as long as it comes out to a 10 or higher, you're good. That was probably the best tournaments we ever had, because like the players who didn't care and just took what they wanted and like were having fun, their comps, you couldn't naturally get below a 10. You had to be trying to take like the nastiest combos. But like the guy who showed up and he's like, here's my favorite unit, and I painted it a cool color scheme, and I'm just here to drink beer and have fun. Like that guy was usually like a 16 at best. So it was way better for those guys because they could actually win games. Because they weren't going up against the ogre player who was running a Iron Gut Death Star with 2 tyrants and a lord who was using Purple Sun and 2 iron blasters behind him, just pew-pewing.
Well, after last weekend where Zinch dominated CanCon, there was some people talking about going back to a comp system. I was just like, no. It has benefits. It absolutely does. It was there for a reason. But
yeah, I would say that if the goal is to find out who is the best general and to have rewards based on that, then comp's a fair system. If you're a casual community, you don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like a casual community, you should just be able to look at the Zinch player and be like, dude, that's not fun to play against. Like, change your list. You have this big old book. Take something else.
I mean, I think it sounds great to me. I'd love like them to go to it. Like as somebody who goes to tournaments, that sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, but I will say that for Age of Sigmar, it's going to be very hard to comp, just because every unit has so many special rules.
Mm-hmm.
And And there are so many synergies that, because in fantasy, like you could take all the units you wanted to and they wouldn't really synergize. They would just kind of hang out.
Right.
Like the characters and that's why a lot of people called Warhammer Fantasy Hero Hammer, was that the characters were really all that mattered, in that they brought the synergy and they brought a lot of the crazy stuff. But without the characters, it was just kind of like, oh, this unit can shoot or this unit can slap other units and that's it. Age of Sigmar, it's like every unit can do something or has like some whack rule. Like just playing Nighthawks, there's so many units I feel like I have to take together because that's how they work. Is that like they buddy up and there's like a system there, and you stack this on this on this. You're like, oh, well, this unit gives -1 this to local units, or this unit lets me reroll ones if he's within a certain distance, all that stuff. And the thing about comp is that you would be trying to figure out how to like account for all of those.
Okay.
It would be hard. It would be really hard.
Well,
and Age of Sigmar has even more armies than Fantasy did.
Yep.
Fantasy had a lot. Granted, some of the Age of Sigmar armies aren't as big, but like most of the new AOS armies are not super. Well, I guess that's not really true anymore. It used to be the new armies they made were pretty small, but like the more recent books have actually been huge.
A lot of multi kits. I mean, like how many kits is like Ossiarch Bone Reapers? It's a lot of heroes. I can't think of how many actual like units are in it.
Well, they got the Mortek Guard. Then you can run 2 versions of the Stalkers. You got the big Gator thing. You got the Catapult.
Cavalry.
The Cavalry. Oh yeah, I guess they really don't have that many units. They just have a lot of characters. Because that's really it.
Yeah.
Okay. Question for Lore Master Sotek, Jack here. So, like, comparing Seraphon to Lizardman, how many models would be in a Warhammer Fantasy Battle Lizardman army versus, like, a Seraphon army? Is it virtually the identical?
So at 2,000 points, I think it's basically the same. I maybe had slightly more models in a fantasy army.
Okay.
But no, you know what? No, you would have more models in fantasy. It's just that because they would all block up, it didn't feel like a lot.
Right.
Whereas in Age of Sigmar, because every model is like separate in a skirmish formation, it feels like a lot. But if let's see, I've actually got one of my old lists here on RE Builder, and it will tell me how many models I'm playing with.
That's the one thing I really do like about Age of Sigmar is because I played fantasy growing up, and it was just the fact that you could be an archer and somebody could be standing right next to you, but you can't shoot them.
Oh yeah, the line of sight rules in Age of Sigmar are so much nicer than the fantasy ones. Fantasy sight rules could be super obnoxious.
Or like I've watched a bunch of battle reports on fantasy because I liked it back in the day, and it just seemed like, okay, I'm gonna put this little flying skirmishy unit like right in front of you, and I'm gonna angle it this way. So if you do charge me, you're gonna have to face this way. And I'm like, okay, that's one of those things like, oh.
Yeah, well, and one of the things I hated legitimately about fantasy that I was so happy they fixed in Age of Sigmar was charging. Because in fantasy, you had to declare who you were trying to charge, and if you failed, you failed. Like, even if you failed only because you, like, ran into another unit, it'd be like, oh, you can't do that. Like, your guys are not going to charge that unit. They're like, no, we were going over there. So there was a really broken set of rules that Ogre players were notorious for exploiting called double fleeing. And the way that worked is legally in 8th edition, you would declare a charge, and then that unit could flee because you had charge reactions, which I do miss charge reactions. I wish you could like flee or stand and shoot still. But they would either choose stand and shoot, or flee. So what they would do is they would flee. So you would have to take a leadership check to redirect the charge, which was reliable. But then the second target would also flee. And the thing the Ogre players would do is they would take Saber Tusks, which they could run a single model as a full unit, and they would put 2 of them in front of a giant block of Iron Guts. So if a friendly unit flees through another friendly unit, they just move through them and pop out the back. which also makes them impossible to catch because I can't run into the Iron Guts to try and catch the Saber Tusk. So what they would do is they would double flee both the Saber Tusk through the Iron Guts, and I could only redirect once. So now I have to charge the second Saber Tusk, but since that Saber Tusk they're both on the other side of the Ogre unit, I can't physically get to them because I can't go through the Iron Guts, so I fail my charge no matter what. So all I can do is move up my movement, and now I'm right in front of the Ogres who charge me back.
Oh, man, that sounds awful.
It was toxic as hell. Like, there were tournaments that either banned that people from doing that, or they would say, no, just keep redeclaring charges until the Ogre player stops.
There you go. I'm going to have to hop off here pretty soon, gentlemen. I apologize. I didn't know we were having guests.
No problem.
Well, yeah, sorry for bursting in on the parade.
No,
Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm
over
glad
there.
you did. Anytime you want to join, you just go ahead. Shoot me a message. We'll make that happen, man. Jack, do you have anything last thing you want to say about LVO?
Had a blast. I want to thank everybody, all the people who came up to me. And,
Did you get to go?
Yeah, it was
I'm so jelly.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm going to Adepticon with all the guys too. So,
Are you going to Adepticon, Loremaster?
When is it?
March.
Where is it?
Chicago?
Chicago.
I might.
Yeah,
I mean, Chicago's not that far away.
Bring your cell phone.
I might. No promises. I might. There's a buddy. March though. I might. We'll see what happens. I might have to do. Hopefully, there's a Total War DLC coming out sometime this spring. In which case, I'll be somewhere else. But
everybody, go check out Loremaster Sotek's channel. He is great. Total War Warhammer content. I don't think you do all Total Wars, don't you?
I just do anything Warhammer IP.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then some other bonus stuff. Which new Shadespire game? Check it out. Super fun. It is exactly like the tabletop, except for you don't have to buy all the other warbands to get all the cards. It's great.
All right, guys.
Cool. You all have a wonderful night, and we'll catch you next time on our next Hobby Hangout. Happy working, everybody.
Bye.